The leaves of the tree are for healing. Shalom, everybody. So somebody posted this picture into one of the groups I'm in on Facebook, and it's a very bizarre choice because they posted it in one of the groups that is related to Greg Braden and his work and Bruce Lipton, but Greg Braden is actually not concerned with climate change. And it's kind of funny to see the people who are responding to pictures like this. This is, of course, Greta, and the whole change is coming, whether you like it or not, which is supposed to be climate change, I imagine. And it says right here, right now is where we draw the line. The world is waking up with some lightning bolts. I know the truthers out there, we get into the whole lightning bolt Lucifer thing, falling from heaven like lightning. But, you know, it's just funny to me that people post this stuff even in so-called awake groups. It's just everywhere. And I'm also in another vegan group, and it's a Christian vegan group, and somebody posted something similar, and I responded saying, this is off topic. It's not about Christianity and it's not about veganism. And of course, they're talking about how if you go vegan, basically you're saving the climate, and so they're so related. I don't see that as being related whatsoever. And I was pointing out that as a Christian, I believe God is in charge of everything and in control, and everything's going to work out just fine. But the person apparently wasn't even a Christian. I mean, maybe they think of themselves as that way, but they talked about creating gods, plural. So I don't think they were a Christian, but regardless of any of that, I do think it was off topic. But it got me thinking, and that's why I started to think about doing this video. And the thing is, when I was discussing it with him, he was sort of twisting what I said and actually just flat out lying most of the time about what I was actually saying. And I realized, obviously, he does not even know what I'm talking about. He's not listening to me. He's just in his own world. That's something very important for us to keep our minds on. Somebody recently mentioned narcissists in comments to one of my videos. And I posted a link to my previous video where I talked about what narcissists do. And basically, people who sort of fracture off from their higher self when they're upset, they end up creating a different world, a different perception of their world, of their own sort of making. And that's why he did not actually... I doubt that he thought he was lying, but when he was talking about what I said, he was lying because I didn't say what he said I said. So he made up his own world, and I've had to deal with this whole past year, basically just coming to terms with how different our realities are with each other. We don't really know anybody else 100%. We only know our version of those people. But that wasn't really the point. I mean, maybe I could do a video about that in the past. I just sort of already did in the past. But my point here was more about the fact that he ended up trying to convince me that somehow we need to take care of the earth. And I already try to take care of the earth as much as I can do myself, but I'm not afraid. So this is my point, is that he was trying to get me to do things out of fear. And somebody else had commented on this post that was in the Greg Braden group, and they were talking about how the earth's not even going to be here in 10 years. I mean, that it was just a bunch of fear matrix stuff. that the climate change is just so outrageous that everything's going to be destroyed, and we have to do something about it right now, and that's time shortage consciousness, as Abraham would call it. And that's fear. And our God is perfect love. And I have a video on my channel about attuning to God's frequency of love. And basically, you can think of him as the highest frequency on a radio. And fear is the lowest frequency on a radio. So if you're tuned on to the highest frequency, you can hear from God. And if you're tuned down to fear at like the lowest frequency on the radio, there's no way you're going to be hearing from God on anything. You're not going to be in alignment when you are in the fear state. And I realized that that's what happened to me when I got into the whole truther stuff originally, is I sort of went down to the fear frequency a little bit on certain topics. And I am so glad to be out of that now. And I did a video back then about, are you saving people? Are you trying to go out there and save people because you're afraid? Or is it out of love? At that point, I was more focused on these preachers, like street preachers and things, who go out there and they say, you got to stop sinning or else you're going to end up in hell fire, basically burning. They just say hell, but to them it's fire and eternal burning. But hell just means the ground. Hell gets thrown into the lake of fire. But again, it doesn't matter if it's biblical or not. There's a bunch of people out there believing in this hellfire, and then they tell people that they're going to burn there unless they repent. And they're the ones who are judging whether or not somebody's repentant, or rather than judging themselves first for going out there in fear and preaching that people need to be afraid. And so I did that video about all these people who are trying to save people out of fear. And then there's other people who maybe they don't believe in hellfire, but they are afraid for people for whatever reason, that they go out there and they try to change their mind. I mean, I'm in these anti-Paul groups now, and there's a bunch of people out there who feel like they have to, save the lost people who still believe in Paul. And it doesn't matter. Like, it's not our job to go out there and quote unquote save other people. The Father's Holy Spirit is with them and talking to them all the time. And if he hasn't gotten through to them, what makes us think we're going to be the ones to do it? It's not our job. And if they are in the right place, then they're going to hear it. They will come to us, and they'll be in the receptive mode for hearing whatever we have to say, if that's what they need to hear at that time. But we shouldn't be going out doing things under fear motivation. And so I just noticed that there's a lot of people acting out of fear. Now, there's a way to want to quote unquote save people out of love. And when you are quote unquote trying to save somebody out of love, you're going to be more, if you're actually in the love frequency of Yahweh, like the highest frequency on the radio, if you're actually on that love frequency, you're not going to have a time shortage consciousness. You're going to know that somebody's going to come to you at the right moment, and then you can explain what you know to them, and they'll hear it or not, but then they'll remember it at the right time when they are meant to hear it, when they're in the right receptive mode. But you're not going to be afraid that they don't accept what you're saying. You aren't going to be worried about proving it to them right now at this moment in time. You're going to be very relaxed, calm, cool, collected, and not even caring if they don't accept it when you say something to them at that moment in time. That being said, the complete opposite is what happens when people are trying to motivate others out of fear. they usually have a very severe case of time shortage consciousness. They feel like they have to convince you now, and if you don't accept what they're saying now, then they get very abrasive and pushy, overbearing, and it just pushes people away. I mean, if you've ever had somebody, maybe like a Jehovah's Witness or something, knocking on your door and like really trying to get you to, because they really want to save you, and you're just trying to say, hey, wait, no, I don't care right now, and close the door, you might have a problem getting away from somebody like that. Or if you're on the street and there's a street preacher out there preaching hellfire because you don't believe in the same religion or spirituality that they believe in, and they think you're going to go to hell, and they're getting in your face on things, them getting in your face, does that really make you want to listen to them more? No. Getting in somebody's face and getting all worried and fear-based, propaganda stuff, etc. They're all like out there just trying to get you to change your mind right now because they're afraid that if you don't, this or that'll happen. You're not going to listen to them. If somebody is preaching to you something in a very calm, cool, collected, I don't even care if you accept what I'm saying, these are just my thoughts. If somebody is talking to you like that, you're going to maybe listen. Even if you don't agree with them at that point in time, you might come back and think, well, maybe they had a point. You can't, quote unquote, save somebody out of fear. You can't, quote unquote, save the earth out of fear. People are not going to stop eating animals out of fear. They're not going to, start recycling more out of fear. They're not going to make these changes when somebody is trying to get them to be afraid of what's going to happen if they don't make these changes. The only way we can help people in this world is by being on the frequency of God. So I'll leave a link below to that video if you haven't seen it before. But if you're on the frequency of God, then you're going to, like I said, be cool, calm, collected, loving, merciful. You're not going to have a time shortage consciousness. You're going to feel like there's all the time in the world and God's taking care of everything, and you're going to be very laid back, and that's the kind of person people listen to. I know there's some people who listen to Greta and they are seeing her in a positive light and thinking about all the positive things. And that's the same way some Christians think about Paul. If they don't understand anything about Paul's background and they're in the right spirit, they're going to see the good stuff. So there's some people who are in the right spirit that are seeing some good stuff out of Greta. However, there are a bunch of people in the wrong spirit who are picking up on all this fear-based propaganda and going out there and trying to preach to people. And I made this comment today. They're trying to preach to people that the world is going to end if we don't do something about it. And it's like they're acting like a cult, like the Roman Catholic Church was trying to get people to join their cult. If you don't believe what we believe, then you're going to go to hell. And you're going to burn in hellfire for eternity. To me, this whole Greta thing was like saying, I don't know if she's literally said this, but other people are saying it because they're listening to stuff that she's saying and supporting her. But they're saying basically the earth is going to disappear. It's going to be a natural disaster from this climate change, which is basically hell on earth. So they're basically preaching hell on earth is coming unless you make some changes, just like the Roman Catholic Church would say, hell on earth, you're going to be thrown into hellfire as soon as you die, unless you do this thing that we want you to do. It's a bunch of fear-based propaganda, and nobody's going to listen to it except the people that are already fear-based. There's some people who can focus on what they're talking about. Of course, the more you focus on what you don't like and the more you're in the state of fear, the more of that stuff comes to you. And it's acting kind of like this egregore at this point in time. And honestly, it's probably picking up on the same egregore that the Roman Catholic Church was promoting, which is probably why there's so much fuel to the fire, so to speak. If you don't know about egregores, I'll leave a link below to the egregore video also. But I think they're creating this whole, thing spiritually that is sort of carrying people like a wave. But that's what Christ said. We're supposed to be walking on water, calm, cool, collected, and not worrying about every wind of doctrine, which is the waves that are floating all over the sea. We're not supposed to be caring about that. We can walk on water coolly, calmly, collectedly, as long as we are in the same frequency as God. No time shortage consciousness, totally loving and understanding that everything's in control. Perfect love drives out fear. So I'm just saying, maybe pay attention to what is motivating somebody when they're talking to you, trying to get you to change your mind, and what is motivating you when you're talking to somebody and trying to get them to change your mind, trying to get somebody else to change their mind. Because we should never be trying to motivate people out of a fear of them not accepting what we're saying. And we should also be cool if they don't accept what we're saying, because there's plenty of time for them to get it. So I hope this was interesting. Thanks for listening. Sorry for my phone. Should have turned it off before I did this. But anyway, thank you for listening, and have a great day or evening, whatever it is when you watch this. And shalom. Chris White once coined the phrase short-term New World Order freakout syndrome to explain what it's like to have your perception of the world shattered. Of course, it's not just about the shape of the world, whether it's flat, round, or something else entirely. This New World Order freakout often includes now saying no to GMOs, fluoride, vaccines, and pharmaceuticals. It's a complete overhaul to your lifestyle. And trying to explain that mainstream media is just propaganda to promote false flags, division, and more can really put a strain on your relationships. Have you gotten tired of being mocked by your own family for what you share? We've all been there. Are you treated like the black sheep because of the commandments you keep? I get it. We're all trying to figure things out together, but sometimes you just have to let your family and friends be. Plant the seed and wait and see. But while you wait for them to catch up, do you wish you had someone to talk with who gets it? That's what Truth or Talk is for. Being able to discuss what's going on in your life and what you're interested in without feeling like you're going to be judged as a crazy conspiracy theorist who should be on drugs or committed. No subject is taboo, and I'd love to hear from you. Simply truthertalk.com. Simply make an appointment and let's talk, Truther. Believe